Aloha. Now, so finally we have the caller that we've been promising to bring to you. And we're going to let him formally introduce himself. And we're going to get the interview started right now. Okay, Lanakila, we're live and we're ready for you to talk. So can you formally introduce yourself to our listeners?
Aloha no kako, Joshua Lanakila Manguail. My home is Lanakila Manguail, and I come from the small sugar plantation town of Honoka'a on the north side of Hawai'i Island. I am the son of Maureen Louise McGraw of Colorado and Stephen Kokua Manguail of Kona. I've been born and raised right here in my hometown. I just live right above in the forest of Ahualoa. I've been a teacher. I'm a graduate of the Hawaiian Charter School movement, Hawaiian education movement. I've been a teacher in the Department of Education for many, many years, teaching from, from preschool to seniors, taught college community classes, and currently now I've actually been very much involved in participating in activism to help to protect our Hawai'i, to help to protect our culture, our heritage, and the natural environment that makes Hawai'i this beautiful place. I've also been a big-time community advocate for a long time, and that kind of gave me a platform. And with 2016, helped to create the Hawaiian Cultural Center of Hamakua, where I do a lot of my advocacy work and a lot of my cultural and community enrichment programs. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. Aloha.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And your journey with Mauna Kea, that involves the activism as well. Is that correct?
Yes, very much.
Beautiful. Tell us what opened the door that led you into politics and running for the office of Hawaiian Affairs.
Interesting enough, I've been kind of involved in politics, maybe even subconsciously. I think we all are. In reality, everyone will ask, what gets you into politics? Well, first thing is that politics is into all of us. It's always, it's around us, it governs and every aspect of our lives in many cases, and participating in that is super important to be sure to preserve and protect our rights and to be able to stand up for what is right and what is pono, as we would say. I really got more involved in my later high school years. When I was in high school, being part of attending a Hawaiian charter school, already that in itself was a political statement. We had to fight for our rights to be able to learn our own culture and our heritage, and to be able to have education rooted in our own ways of being. So that's already spun off from there, and being taught to our intimate relationship with our natural environment. Here in Hawaii, I know for many people who look at Hawaii as a paradise, but for us it's an everyday battle to protect this paradise. There's so much of it that is constantly a threat that we are trying to preserve and protect for the health of the mountains down into our oceans. We have Hawaii is also known as the endangered species capital of the world per capita, and we're facing all kinds of different issues here, and that environment is really what makes Hawaii Hawaii.
Yeah.
And that's what made our people. And when it comes to Mauna Kea, I think that was probably my biggest launch into realizing that we can continue to constantly be beating at the doors and having to push against this machine of corporate interests and overdevelopment and environmental injustices. We can continue to bash and try and push in from the outside, or we can be in there and within the machine, within that system, and change it from the inside for better changes. And so that's really was the final straw with Mauna Kea, was like, get in there.
Getting it right. And OHA stands for Hawaii Office of Hawaiian Affairs. What are some of the responsibilities that you will hold, you will have holding that office?
Well, interesting. So, real quick tidbit: OHA was created out of the 1970 Constitutional Convention in Hawaii, and it was created as an office specifically to care for the well-being of the Kanaka Maoli, of the Native Hawaiian population, because at the time in the 70s, all of these facts were coming out that proved the injustice, the illegal occupation of the Hawaiian Kingdom by the United States. It showed of the illegal takeovers and taking of our lands, of our resources, and the displacement of our people. And so by the 1970s, people began to push that. This office was created. It is a quasi-state entity, so it has a major components about being able to operate outside of that Americanized control, so to be able to take care of our people. Particularly the Office of Hawaiian Affairs is meant to advocate for the rights of our people, for justice and for the health and education and well-being of our people. So there's a couple of different kuleana that I have. It's a trustee position. This trust consists of revenue money coming out of ceded lands. These are crown lands that belong to the Hawaiian mother that's stolen by the illegal takeover to the control of the state of Hawaii. So the Constitutional Convention mandated that at least 20% of these assets needs to go for the benefit of the Native Hawaiian people. Since then, the state of Hawaii has actually never honored that, and they still continue not to honor that 20%. And there's always this bureaucracy of what is 20% and so on and so forth. But big part is making sure that funds are properly distributed to help for anything from healthcare to housing, cultural programs, and of course the pursuit of justice for our people.
Wow, well, you're the right one to hold that office, to be in there. Yeah, because I know from living in Hawaii from 1994 through 95, halfway through 95, I was able to learn so much, and so this office will really do great justice. If it just needs the right person or people in there to execute these things, and you have that focus and that vision. Speaking of which, can you share with us some of your dreams, visions, and goals that you have moving into the future?
I definitely, for me, I'm unique, I think, in this candidacy, this round two, for a couple of reasons. One, I'm relatively will be one of the youngest to ever run for this position, but also I'm a graduate. I'm the first graduate of the Native Hawaiian Charter School movement, this Native Hawaiian education movement, to run for a political office. The very first charter school only opened in the year 2000. And so it's kind of bringing in this, not just a younger generation perspective, a younger generation that is deeply grounded and rooted in ancestral and traditional knowledge and history. So I think bringing that perspective is very, very important. I'm also part of a generation that taking care of the earth was kind of a critical thing from when I was in preschool or in school. You always heard about recycling and everything when that was just kind of picking up. But it's a regular part of my being and understanding, and really just to be able to look at so many of the past decisions, the good and the bad, so we could analyze these things and realize and really want to help the people. OHA is plagued with a lot of infighting, and that has just slowed the office from being really a resilient source for our people for a long time. And past past corruption within the office has just carried a shadow over the office for a long time, and still till now there's still another issue that still needs to get cleaned up. So my goal is really to get this office on the right track. It needs to remember, I think OHA needs to be needs courage once again. The office was created to be this strong force for our people, but really for most all Kanaka, we look at OHA and we're mostly dealing with is, or seeing is that the OHA will always bend to the will of the state. It's basically the lapdog of the state.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we don't see that true, strong advocacy in alignment with the people as there should be. So I just think helping to bring this fresh new look. When it comes to helping to build the trust, I think that's a lot of people's focus, and which is very corporate-minded.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to bring another perspective that OHA, we have residual funds that comes to this. We need to, and a lot of the problems hasn't been in OHA. Well, that is a long-standing problem, is that we're not getting what we're supposed to. However, in this time, the trust has ballooned to $600 million worth of $600 million in assets. Yet we still have Kanaka or Native Hawaiians, you know, many Hawaiians homeless, without access to health care, children without access to proper education and tools for their education or a safe place to live. I think that when you look at OHA, that's failure. And really, not only the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, one thing that I really intend to do is bring all of the Hawaiian trusts. We have a lot of different trusts in Hawaii. One of the most wealthiest that everyone is pretty well known is Kamehameha Schools. Kamehameha Schools is worth upwards of $16 billion. And these are all Native Hawaiian trusts. And you have the Queen Emma Trust that establishes the Queen's Medical Center and such. And we have Queen Lokalani Trust. We have all of these trusts that have hundreds and thousands of acres of land in between them and billions of dollars in revenue, and they all have their mandates. These are trusts that were created by our last reigning monarchs in order to put their funds and their assets toward the well-being of their people. Mm-hmm. That we're seeing these trusts become more corporations, and their primary focus is growing their portfolios. And yet, in all of their mandates, it says that they're all there to service the Native Hawaiian community. There is less than 500,000 Native Hawaiians alive today on the entire planet. Mm. And with that kind of funding, and in Hawaii, we have less than 300,000 Hawaiians actually living here. There's over 200,000 plus or even more Hawaiians living abroad, not even in Hawaii, and yet our people are not taken care of right here. And it's not a matter about looking for handouts, but you know, in this time right now, I think it's something quite apparent across the world. This is a time where we're also part of a generation that is continuing the fight to stand up for our civil rights. Right. And to stand up against injustice and prejudices and racism. And Hawaii is rampant, especially the state of Hawaii, is rampant with institutionalized racism. Kanaka Maoli make up we are the highest in incarceration rates, both for men and for women. Mm-hmm. We have the highest rates of prosecution to our own people, and that a lot has to do with the injustice to our within the court systems. So we need to huli. So in Hawaii, we're calling this, they call it always huli, the turnover, and we say we got to huli this system. And OHA is supposed to be a driving force, to always be there, to always be that vanguard for our people. So I really want to help bring that energy back in, which is bringing in this power of the unified community that we really saw jump into power in the protection of Mauna Kea, and keeping this energy of keeping our people together and now moving forward in a political body and using this office to do what it's supposed to do.
A new Aina is upon the Hawaii. Oh, most definitely. Lanakila, share with us your contact information and the election date and your website, and I'm going to make sure that I get that on the chat room page and everything. But share that with us, please.
Oh, awesome. Mahalo. Yeah, you can check out my website. It's at Lanakila for OHA. That's FOR, not the number 4. Lanakila for OHA. .com. You can check my website there. You can also find me on Facebook, Lanakila for OHA, and also Instagram. And really just big aloha and mahalo to everybody, and for wanting to listen, to wanting to learn, because it's super important. Education when it comes to politics is critical, and not be counting on memes. We cannot be reliant on just single sources. We need to really look to being educated once again
Mm-hmm.
and participating in that system, or else that system is just going to drive us where the wealthy want us to be. But we need to reclaim these offices all around, and really a big aloha and mahalo to everybody who are stepping up, participating, holding a government accountable, and doing our best to protect and preserve our local communities. It's super, super important in this day and age for so many different reasons. But thank you, and mahalo for letting me come up and share on your station today.
And you so welcome. One final question for you, if you can, is what message do you have for the Hawaiian people of Hawaii and to our youth who shoulder the future of Hawaii?
E Hawaii kapono is what I say. On the Mauna, you hear the call e hui, which is to rise like a great wave. Or we say Hawaii kapono, it's like let's rise and search for this righteousness. It's so important that we all really awamo the kuleana. For too long, politics all over has just been a matter of waiting for what is going to get dropped onto us, and or just waiting also with our hands up. Really important in Hawaii, we have a proverb that says "Huli kalima ilalo," which is turn your hands downward. It was speaking of, turn your hands to the earth, work the land, work and create and build. And that really is also the matter of don't sit and just wait for whatever drops to you or what handouts come our way. We can create from our own foundations, and it really is also about everyone. Go home. Malama your home. Take care of your own backyard. Take care of your kino. Take care of your body, your families. Be pa'a to your communities at this time. We thin ourselves out too much by trying to look at what's happening all over, when yet in our own backyard it's not stable. So this is a time, I know really for a lot of Mailahui, our native Hawaiian people, is that we need to help to start shaping this future and quit waiting for Superman. We need to be that. And that's for everybody out there. For all of these challenges, but really look to what our goals are. Is our intention for self-gratification or for the betterment of a nation? So let's all get involved. Participate.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well said. Lanakila, thank you so much. Mahalo nui loa for calling in and for sharing and letting folks know what's going on and what's to be, what's to come. And we're definitely batting for you. And although we're not able to vote, we're here in Washington State, but in our hearts and in our minds, we cast our vote.
Oh yeah, mahalo. Thank you very much. Mahalo, everybody.
Election day is when in Hawaii?
We have mail-in ballots predominantly here. I believe the ballots start to go out as early as October 5th, all the way up to, and then of course our election date is officially on November 3rd.
November 3rd, general election day. Beautiful. All right. Well, we'll keep in touch. I'll keep in touch with your campaign manager and follow everything through and keep our listeners posted on what's going on as we move along towards November 3rd. And hopefully we'll get to meet each other. We can fly in and be able to meet you person to person.
Right. Hopefully soon.
Yeah. All right.
Mahalo again. Thank you for having me.
Mahalo. Aloha.
Aloha.
There you have it, folks. The fabulous interview with Lanakila Manguail.